Business in the boardroom.
So today we've got a very interesting guest. I'm very excited to have him on. We've got Dan Hughes.
Thank you.
And how do you pronounce your business?
VITIV.
And what does that mean?
It's Latin for life force, because the stuff that I do now gives you that.
Oh, amazing.
Energy, that
I love
force.
that. So you replied, I mean, I know you through the Known For, through Jodie Goodchild's Known For community, which is fantastic. And we've had a few conversations because what Dan does now is a lot of cold water therapy, breath work, and it fascinates me. I've never done it. I've done a cold water dip with Sarah in the sea, but I've never done it as a form of therapy or relaxation or breath work. So I'd love, and I think that was our first conversation, wasn't it? But then you reached out to me because I put a plea out looking for people in the maritime sector.
Yes.
And what I didn't know is that Dan has, what we've recently established, 30 years.
I know I don't look old enough.
No, you do not.
30 years.
30 years in the marine sector, specifically around marinas.
Marinas, yeah.
So talk to me. So you were young though, 17, 18, right?
Yeah. So I studied A-levels at college, and then my dear old dad, who's no longer with us, he pointed at me and said, you need to get yourself a proper job, because I was spending my weekends and summers just floating around doing all sorts of really cool stuff. So I saw an advert at the time it was the Southern Evening Echo.
Oh,
that's
wow.
how we used to get jobs, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it used to go through the newspaper for a trainee marina manager in Gosport with Camper Nicholson's, which I've grown up in and around boats all my life, so that's a brand that I recognised immediately, and started as a trainee marina manager for them, just doing dockmaster stuff, walking the pontoons, checking in visitors, and a little bit of admin here and there, and then moved to an assistant manager's role in Pembrokeshire, in South West Wales. So. At 19, I was responsible for the...
Was that with the same company?
With the same company,
So you travelled with them as well?
Yeah, and then I was there for a year and then promoted and moved up to Northumberland, of all places, as a marina manager at 20. And at 20 years old, moving up to that part of the country, a soft southern lad, in amongst the, what was largely a mining community, that was a tough gig. I learnt a lot of lessons. Yeah. Lots of fun, but learnt a lot of lessons.
Yeah, but it certainly shaped you, didn't it, as a young man?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And my sort of whole understanding of how to deal with people and how to manage people was just put through the mill, because I got it wrong so many times. And then I was actually privileged to be headhunted and moved down to Sovereign Harbour in Eastbourne, which at the time was just a muddy hole in the ground, because the owners of those muddy holes was Tarmac, the road building company, and they were extracting shingle to use in the M25 road building programme, and left with these beautiful square holes that they then turned into a marina. So my job was to get the marina fitted out with all the equipment, recruit the staff, train the staff, and open it as an operational.
And how old
facility.
were you then? 20?
I was 24 by that point.
Wow, what a job,
so
though.
Great job, really interesting job, and getting to spend somebody else's money on bits of kit like boat hoists and cranes and stuff like that was amazing. And then so I stayed there for 10 years. I ended up being the harbour master there. I won't go into the detail, but it's because it was a new part of British coastline. It was surrounded by a Harbour Act, right? Ratified in Parliament. So that was quite interesting. So I was harbour master there, and then moved again. Was headhunted and moved to Port Solent.
Oh, okay.
At the top of Portchester, up towards Portchester, as general manager of Port Solent. So I was responsible for the marina, the boatyard, all the tenants, the sort of common areas of.
So that's literally what you'd see now when you're having your dinner. Yeah, that marina. That's a very lovely marina, isn't it?
Well, everything from the traffic lights where you come in all the way through. So all of the housing that had marina berths with it, we were responsible for those.
Oh, really?
And stuff as well. Yeah,
and they're very impressive, aren't they? So a girl that used to work here, Sammy, she now does fitness. her, let me get this right, her sister-in-law's boyfriend has one with a pontoon. And on a sunny day, it's an incredibly impressive
it's
place
beautiful
to live, isn't it?
Yeah, really.
Wow.
So I was there for 10 years. And then unfortunately in 2009 I was seriously ill, and I had to, I had no choice but to stop work for a couple of years to get myself sorted out in terms of treatment.
Right.
And I set up a little business at that point, but it was really just to keep my brain occupied. It didn't ever really take off. And then a good friend of mine from years past got in touch with me and said, when I was getting much better, said, we've got a job available with Camper Nicholson's. So I did full circle back to Camper Nicholson's again. But on this occasion, we were based up in London, and my job was business development for Camper Nicholson, finding new sites to create marina facilities, or we had quite a lot of people come to us and say, look, we want Camper Nicholson's to come and run our marina facility for us. I was rapidly promoted from business development to operations director, and then became responsible for all of the global operations of Camper Nicholson's.
Jesus.
Marinas. So we have marinas in the Med, the Middle East, the Caribbean.
What a fantastic job. Yeah.
It's a tough gig, but although it sounds glamorous, but you spend hours and hours and hours sat in airports or staring at the back of somebody else's, airline seat.
Yeah.
That said, it was it was a nice job because the facilities we had were in beautiful places.
Yeah.
Grenada in the Caribbean, Malta, Italy, Abu Dhabi, some really cool places.
Cool way to travel.
And then it became apparent quite quickly that a lot of people had, they were building on the seafront, for want of a better phrase, and they had this vision that wouldn't it be nice to have some yachts in front of our new hotel development or our housing development or our island development, whatever it may be. And they were coming to us and saying, what do you think? Could we, if we built a marina, would you help us? So we created a consultancy business that was all about feasibility work to make sure that, the marina design would work. And then after a short period of time, because these people that were approaching us were good at what they did, as in building hotels or building tower blocks of apartments, they were coming to us and saying, we'd love to have that marina that you've designed for us, but we've got no idea how to run it. Could you run it on our behalf? Amazing. So we ended up pulling more business in through that way as well. So it was really dynamic, lots of conversations all over the world all the time. So my working day started at 5 o'clock in the morning, catching up with people in sort of the east, and then later in the day catching up with people in the Caribbean, in the Western time zone. So full on.
So how long were you there? How long was that stint of your career?
That was 2012 to 2019. So 7 years I did that. Lots of travel.
Yeah.
And then ended up very local, working for Goodwood.
Yeah.
So
what were you doing for Goodwood? Business development again?
No, it's consultancy.
Oh, okay.
So everything that we did on the Goodwood estate, my job was to take packages of work and sell it off the estate. So, for example, we did lots of work with the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit, bringing their motorsport exhibits to life.
Oh, wow!
We did loads of stuff with the government of Saudi, designing a motorsport theme park. We did lots of private work for very, very wealthy individuals who perhaps wanted a motor circuit and a private drivers club in their hometown.
Oh, wow.
All sorts of really cool, really interesting stuff.
So what made you leave the maritime to go into motorsport? Because that would have been your whole career, hadn't it?
Yeah, it had. I think, to be honest with you, Tatum, I think I'd kind of got to the point where
you'd outgrown it almost.
Nothing surprised me.
Yeah, nothing impressed you. Not in a horrible way.
Well, nothing challenged me.
Yeah.
You know, somebody coming and saying, "Oh, we've got this amazing, Caribbean island, and we're building a hotel, and we want a beautiful marina with super yachts coming, and all the." It was like, yeah, okay, well, we've done loads of those, so yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
We can do that for you. It's not a problem. So it wasn't really a challenge. I was commuting to London as well, which was just a killer. You know? So 4:30 in the morning.
And where were you based?
Based in central London.
Right. And where were you commuting from?
From the south coast, from kind of Chichester way.
Yeah, that's a long commute, isn't it?
Long days.
Yeah.
And I'm not frightened of hard work, but that's unproductive time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if you're in the industry where you can maybe create content or you can use those hours very smart.
Yeah.
But if it's just, a lot of the time you can't even get bloody internet, can you?
No.
So if you're just reading a magazine or staring out the window,
yeah,
that's 4 hours, isn't it?
I chose in the end to drive because the public transport was so unreliable. A long day was just made even worse by public transport. So I chose to drive to Richmond and then jump on the tube every day.
Yeah.
Just a killer. So when I was approached by Goodwood to say, look, we understand you run a consultancy business for Camper Nicholson's, a very well established brand. Goodwood, very well known established brand. We want somebody to come and head up the consultancy business. What do you think?
Amazing.
It was an easy choice, really.
And I imagine the
my commute
clientele
was 6 minutes from home.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
And I imagine the clientele is obviously different, but very similar in the respects of spend and wealth, and because motorsport, they're as glamorous as yachts, aren't they?
Yeah. Interestingly, with Goodwood, it wasn't all motorsport. So we did quite a lot of work with other horse racing facilities, and actually we did some work for other estates in the UK that were looking at ways to diversify their income.
Right.
So again, just my job really at Goodwood was the conductor of the orchestra, because I don't know much about anything really, but the guys at Goodwood know lots about stuff.
Yeah.
So if I needed some advice on farming, I'd pull the farm team in, or motorsport team in, or the horse racing team in, or the hospitality team in, and create packages of work using their expertise. My job was really to kind of coordinate it and deliver it.
Amazing.
Interesting job.
I love Goodwood, and I think it's fantastic. Like I love a ladies' day, but also then they do the 3 Fridays. That's anticipated every year, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
But I've got lots of friends that are members of the Kennel Club.
Yes.
And then we've gone to events on behalf of that, and they've been great. I think we went to like a ski lodge event one year.
Yes.
And it was held by, I think it was sponsored by Verve. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my God, I'll come.
I'm there.
I'm there. And it was great. The DJ was amazing. You genuinely felt like you were in a ski lodge.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
That is something that, has to be respected with Goodwood, is the time and energy and effort on the detail is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And to be in those planning meetings where things are being talked about, there's some brilliantly creative people in that business. I loved every minute I spent with Goodwood, but unfortunately, I was ill.
Yeah.
I whilst I was travelling, I caught COVID, and I never fully recovered from it. And I went from 1,000 miles an hour to 0 miles an hour in a very short space of time.
Right.
I ended up being signed off work for 20 months.
Wow.
And a good day for me was getting from the bed to the sofa. That was a good day. I was destroyed by it.
Did that wipe you out because of your previous health?
Yeah. So my previous, I'd had cancer in my late 30s. My immune system was completely wrecked as a result of the treatment I had. So I wasn't surprised to catch COVID when it came, but it really got a hold of me badly.
Oh,
so, and I ended up on several university hospital research programs just to try and help the medics understand what long COVID was, because back in 2022 it was still very new. Nobody really understood what long COVID was. And a lot of the university hospitals were trying to understand what the best form of treatment was. And one of the things that I was asked to do was to practice what's called NSDR, non-sleep deep rest. So it's basically not trying to nap, not trying to meditate, but just stopping just for 5 minutes at a time and really slowing everything down, using your breath.
Right.
And every time I did it, I felt different. I felt just a little bit different. I can't tell you why, but just a little bit different. One of my symptoms was extreme temperatures. So I'd just go from, like I am now, to full on, dripping with sweat, just so hot. And the only way I could cool myself down was to go upstairs and take a really cold shower.
Right. Right.
Before I knew it, a good mate of mine had bought me suggested I read the Wim Hof book, and before I knew it, I was practicing 2 of the 3 pillars of the Wim Hof method.
Yeah.
So whilst I was off work and unable to, keep my brain busy with work, I did some online learning, just to give me a bit of a purpose really in the day, and qualified as a Wim Hof method instructor, to cut a long story short. And then subsequently went on to train as a breathwork facilitator after I'd taken the decision not to go back to my full-time job with Goodwood.
How did you feel with that? Because that's a huge move, not just financially, not just career path, but it's a huge move for lifestyle, isn't it?
It is.
Was it scary for you?
Yeah.
Is this the first time you'd worked by yourself for yourself?
Pretty much, yeah.
Solely?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Wow, and that's a scary thing.
It is, yeah.
Especially if you've got a household to run or...
Absolutely, but in some ways it's a very easy decision to make.
Yeah.
Because I was so pleased with my progress health-wise.
You'd seen it firsthand.
I'd witnessed it. I felt it firsthand. I wanted to help other people who were going through what I had been through. So it was a very easy decision from that point of view. Yeah. Obviously, salary isn't there, and the security of a regular income isn't there, and that sort of thing. But actually, when you have that kind of decision thrown at you in life, you have to do what feels right, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't now do what I do for money. Obviously, I've got bills to pay. That is absolutely not my driving force.
No.
I do it because I love doing what I'm doing. I love to see the change in people. It's genuinely helping other people, and that's a really nice thing to be able to do.
I think I agree. I think one positive thing that has come out of COVID is that people that thought their jobs were secure have realised their jobs were not secure. So then making that jump to do something that you really love hasn't been as scary.
Yes.
And I do think that, I know talking to candidates all the time, not the lower level jobs per se, but the higher level jobs, they will take a 10 grand less job if the culture feels right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think that work-life balance now, we'll throw that out, but this is the first job I've actually experienced work-life balance. And Sarah is so good at making sure we take our holidays. We certainly don't reply to emails when we're off. Not many bosses are like that. But I do think that is now, people have seen it, people have experienced it. So I do think that encourages people to follow their dreams a little bit more, doesn't it?
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. But I also think that since COVID, a lot of big businesses certainly have got quite substantial wellbeing budgets now, because they recognise the value of looking after their staff properly.
Yeah.
So quite a lot of our work is corporate.
I was just about to ask
is at a corporate level.
That's great.
Where we're going into businesses and helping them understand that something as simple as using their breath through their nose is going to drive concentration and focus and performance and recovery and sleep, and therefore productivity and therefore profit. So ultimately it comes down to the bottom line, but the reality is that business these days recognises they've got to look after people.
Yeah. So how long have you been operating as a business now, as a business entity offering these sort of facilities?
3 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
3 years this year or 4 years coming up?
It will be 4 years at the beginning of next year. So we're in our 3rd year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And did you initially start with corporate? Was that your...
No. So I started, as I say, I trained as a Wim Hof instructor just whilst I was off work, just for something to keep me occupied. When I qualified, my absolute full intent was to go back to work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. They'd held my job open for me. They'd been brilliant the whole way through my illness. And, you know, I was ready to go back to work. I'd tried to go back a few times, actually, and my doctor had said, absolutely not. I'm not going to sign you back as fit to go back to work until you genuinely are, because I know what will happen is you'll crash and burn.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll be even worse. So hold on, keep working on your recovery. You'll be okay. And when I got the all clear, you know, it was at that point that I had the decision to make. Do I go back to work, or do I do this on my own?
Yeah.
And so that decision was made.
When you made that decision, did you think, right, I'm going to help people that were like me in corporate, or did you think I'm going to help individuals, or I'm going to put on businesses, or was it kind of a collective?
My original business plan was just to take people through the Wim Hof method in little workshops dotted around, you know, Hampshire and West Sussex.
Sort of like a pop-up for you.
Yeah, a little pop-up. But I came to realise quite quickly that actually that's not a well-rounded business model. There needs to be other things bolted onto it. So I then went on to train as a functional breathwork coach and you know, other things to kind of augment the business and open up the avenues. And it's that functional breath stuff that the corporates are really interested in.
So do you offer a package for that for corporate now?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Anything from 45-minute lunch and learn sessions right the way through to 2-3 day, you know, masterclasses in using your breath for all the performance tools. We've trained big teams of salespeople through to senior execs, right the way through to an Olympic team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We've got a world-class program team on our books who are working towards the Olympics in 2028.
That's exciting.
Using their breath.
That's
for
wild.
performance, because we're all tuned into hydration and nutrition and exercise. Nobody pays any attention to their breath, and it is absolutely foundational for everything.
Yeah, and going on to the cold water, that's obviously as well about breath, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So that for you came from the cold showers, but it's the Wim Hof. It's part of the Wim Hof method, isn't it? The cold water.
Yeah.
So have you got a spot that you do that for? Because that's not exactly mobile, is it?
Well, it is actually. I've got a tin bath that I sling in the back of the car, and you know, I've got an arrangement with a supplier for ice, and I travel all around the country delivering Wim Hof workshops. Yeah.
Get in the bath.
Get in the bath. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
And that's a half-day workshop. It's amazing because a large number of people come to that workshop, Tatum, saying, "I'm really looking forward to this, Dan, but there is no way I'm getting in that at the end of it," pointing at the ice bath.
Yeah.
And 100% of people do. 100%. I've taken thousands of people through the ice bath, and I've got 100% success rate.
That's
because the whole idea of learning how to get control and take control of your thoughts and your body and your reaction using your breath gives you the power to be able to jump into an ice bath.
It's quite, I've never done an ice bath, but I just go from when I did the sea swimming, and that's cold. Not quite an ice bath, but you feel it feels like a high.
Yeah,
when you
really
get out,
is a high,
doesn't it?
It really is a high.
And you feel, I know that we used to do it Friday mornings with Sarah, she was telling you, and that would be the most productive day I'd have at work.
Yeah.
Because I'd be so excited and alive and awake. Yeah. And I'd have the best night's sleep Friday night as well.
Absolutely. There are significant physiological things happening in your body when you get cold. So it's not just a challenge. A lot of people see it as just, you know, if I can do the ice bath, you know, that's great. I've got the t-shirt. But from a health and well-being point of view, it is so good for you. So good. We've all become, you know, so used to, you know, if we're chilly, turning the heater up.
Yeah.
You know, we sit down for hours and hours and hours, not moving our bodies. If we're hungry, we go to the supermarket and go and buy some food. What cold immersion does is it switches back on some of those ancient mechanisms in the body that give you much greater immunity, much more balanced nervous system, huge amounts of energy, much better sleep, all of the things that we've that modern life is interrupting and interfering with. So it's a really good way to reset everything.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we were talking about the Lido the other day.
Yeah.
And someone said, is it going to be heated? And we're like, of course it's not going to be heated. It's a Lido. Why would it be heated? And she went, well, no one will go. So the kids all love it.
Yeah.
And the kids don't care, do they?
Care,
and
no.
they're so happy. And then when you actually strip it back and you look at the kids playing in the sea,
Yep.
playing in the Lido,
Yep.
playing at the splash park. I know the splash park's not immersion, but they're wet and they're cold.
Yeah.
And they're kind of, and, do you want to go? No, their lips are blue. But they want to stay and they feel so good. But they always sleep incredibly that night.
Yeah.
And I think that's got to be said, hasn't it? If it's that obvious and working and addictive for kids,
Yeah.
why is it
Yeah,
not?
I can remember, playing in the sea for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
Like you say, coming out the shaking all
Eating a
over.
sandwich of sand all over
exactly.
it. Getting back in.
Yeah,
They don't
get back in.
care.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just want to be in.
It's so good for you. And as an adult, well, you would have experienced this. You would have been looking forward to your Friday morning dip because it is highly addictive.
So addictive.
The dopamine hit you get from getting cold is 250% more than normal.
Wow.
250%. Now, I'm told that users of cocaine are hitting about 150%. So it's better than cocaine.
Well, quite clearly, it's better for you.
Better
but
for you.
equally, like, yeah, do you know what? Before in the morning, like, get in the. I mean, there's been a lot of negative press around the sea at the moment, especially in the South Coast, hasn't there? So Sarah was saying earlier, it will be great for that aspect at the Lido.
Absolutely.
And I really hope they hone in on that.
Yeah, me too.
Could you do anything at the Lido?
I've sent a couple of emails. So yeah, who knows? We'll see.
Great.
We'll see. Because one of the things I'm really keen on making sure people do is experience cold water and all the benefits of it, but do it safely.
Yeah.
Because, I'm waving a flag. If you've got a heart condition or high blood pressure or epilepsy or you're pregnant, that is not a good thing to do.
Yeah.
So doing it safely, I think, is really, really important.
And I hope I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but there's obviously, this has been very fashionable to talk about cold water immersion since COVID, hasn't it? And also breathwork. I think since Wim Hof came out, I saw him on something called
Freeze the Fear.
Goop Lab.
Oh, Goop Lab, yeah.
And I always thought Gwyneth Paltrow was really vanilla and boring, but she's great on that.
She is,
and that opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I thought, God, he's absolutely bonkers. But how many lives has he saved? And had he had known about that when his wife had become ill, could that have saved her life?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that'll be a question on his mind for the rest of his life. However, I've lost my train of thought. What I was going to say was something else that's obviously got a lot of press at the moment is hormone health for women. Menopause, perimenopause, blah, blah, blah. We know now that perimenopause can hit you at late 30s. We're not too young. But I also read an article that said cold water dipping isn't for everyone, as you've just touched on.
Yeah.
What about women in the menopause?
So it's really good.
Okay.
Really good. But it's also the case that the female body doesn't need water as cold.
Right.
So when we do workshops, for example, we normally set up 2 ice baths. So we have one for the blokes, which is considerably
really
colder,
yeah,
and one for the ladies that is blooming cold, but not as cold.
Okay.
If you are getting into the sea, where the temperature is the same for men and women, then you just do it for slightly less time.
Okay.
So there is a difference in terms of the response, but there's also a difference in terms of where you are in your cycle as well.
Yeah.
So you need to be aware of that. It's quite a complicated kind of matrix, but I'm happy to share that somehow through
that would be amazing.
The means of technology with the listener if they want to know a bit more.
That would be fantastic. So if the listeners are interested in, corporate, we'll put all your details on the podcast, and what I'll do at the end of this is I will email you when Ed's put it up. It goes on YouTube, goes on Spotify. Yeah. So I'll email you that, and we'll put all your details on both channels. But if customers want to get in touch with you, or if they want to look at doing do you do one-to-ones? Is it workshops you do? So
we pretty much everything. So it is one-to-ones. It's small teams of people. It's groups of friends. It's large organisations. So a bit of everything really. And the interesting thing is that it doesn't all involve getting into an ice bath.
Yeah.
I can come into a business and do an hour or 2 hours on functional breathing, and you will take so much away with you that some of this stuff is absolutely life-changing, really life-changing. And it's not, that's an overused phrase sometimes, but most people are not breathing as they should do. And when you start to learn how to breathe properly, and it's not difficult, your ability to think is much, much clearer. Your energy levels are significantly higher. You sleep properly at night. It's it's game-changing stuff.
Yeah.
What I've started to see a real interest in, and I've created a training course around it, is given my marina experience, given my cold immersion experience, I've blended the two things together, and I'm now running cold water immersion awareness training.
That's fantastic.
For anybody that works in or near open bodies of water. So marina staff, for example, walk in the pontoons at night on their own in the middle of winter. They may well have a life jacket on, great. But if they don't understand how to quickly take control of that situation and what to do to think clearly, then unfortunately it could be curtains.
Yeah, of course.
But if they're able to understand what's happening to their body and react in the right way, then they've got half a chance of getting out. And I've delivered that course to
well, that's really
to marinas
isn't it?
Marinas all over the UK.
Anyone that
works near the water. Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah. So what's next for you guys? I mean that, but like, are you set up anywhere in Portsmouth? Have you got any?
We don't have a base, so we're completely mobile. We've got a small studio at home, but we do one-to-one stuff at home.
Okay.
But we travel to wherever the
on demand. So you haven't got anything like once a month somewhere.
We've got regular breathwork classes dotted around Hampshire and West Sussex. So
on your website?
Yeah, on the website. We do a regular breathwork class in the Pyramids in Southsea every 2 weeks.
I thought you
Monday
did.
Night.
Yeah, I thought you did.
Amazing place. Dark, black floor, black walls, black ceiling. Very atmospheric. Music's really loud in there as well.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Oh, I'd love to come to one of those.
So come along.
Yeah, I'd
First
love
class is free.
Oh, amazing.
Because we just want people to experience what it's all about. It isn't. Breathwork still has this kind of woo-woo.
Yeah, I agree.
Aspect to it, and this is so far removed from woo-woo.
Yeah,
it's incredibly good for you. We've got people that come back week after week after week.
So that's every week you do that?
It's every fortnight, actually.
Every fortnight,
but yeah, so we do one in Portsmouth, we do one in Chichester, one in Midhurst, and one in Bosham.
Right.
The other side of Emsworth.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what's next? After that, after your course that you're delivering, have you got any big plans you're allowed to talk about? You can talk about? Not allowed, because you're the boss, but exactly. That you want to talk about, that you want to tease people with.
It's a bit more of the same, really. My wife Karen and I. So Karen is as qualified as I am, in terms of all this cold water stuff and breathwork and what have you. We are currently right in the middle of our 400 hours of facilitator training to become what's called conscious connected breathwork facilitators.
Right.
So our business has been about the Wim Hof method over here, which is all about health and well-being and creating a really strong system in your body and your mind. Over the other side, we've got the functional breathwork, so learning how to breathe 24/7 for performance and recovery and concentration and focus and sleep and all that good stuff. But there's been a bit in the middle that we are quite interested in, and people are coming to us saying, oh, you do this and you do this, what about this bit in the middle? And that is the more emotionally connected breathwork, the more trauma-informed breathwork, and the more spiritual stuff. Which I appreciate isn't for everybody, and that is a little bit woo-woo in the middle, but it's we think is a really important part of our business. And there is nobody else in the country that will have that broad aspect of breathwork, that overarching, qualification and experience in all of the modalities of breathwork.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it's changed my life. Breathwork has absolutely changed my life.
Yeah, and many more that you've worked with, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, we will put all of Dan's details on.
Thank you.
thank you so much. It's been so interesting. And that's why I didn't want to like delve into your LinkedIn. So, because I mean, you're an open book and I've got you on Instagram as well. So I could have found out so much, but I wanted you to talk and I wanted to learn along with the listeners.
I've done plenty of that, so I apologise.
No, that's what we're here for. Listen, I talk way too much all the time and Ed always says, don't talk over your guests, don't talk over your guests. So I hope I haven't done that today.
Not at all.
I have I have a few like juicy questions because you're in the maritime sector. So where is the best place you've ever worked? Can you say that?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Where is your favourite memory from where you've worked?
I loved my time at Sovereign Harbour in Eastbourne, where we literally opened the gates and saw the marina come to life with water, because it was literally
fantastic to go back, isn't it?
Extraordinary. Yeah.
If you go back, you're like, I created this.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary
That's
thing.
a huge deal, isn't it?
Yeah, extraordinary thing. My time at Port Solent was brilliant. I had the most amazing team there.
Yeah.
And that was a really full-on job, because that was not just running a marina, that was running a boatyard and all the tenants and you know the relationship with all the residents as well. So that was good fun. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm one of these people that has been very lucky that I've enjoyed everything I've done, because you know I've got to play in a nice environment. You know, with, generally speaking, people who come to marinas are on their boats, and therefore in their leisure time they're a bit more chilled out, a bit more relaxed. Nice environment, usually in nice places. So marinas are very rarely, you know, in places like the Med and the Caribbean, are very rarely in rough, you know, the rough part of town. They're usually in the nice bit. So yeah, I think
as a whole,
all of it.
That's amazing. Would you do it again? Would you do it all again? Or if not, how would you do it differently? If you woke up tomorrow at 17, would you do it all again?
Do you know, I think I probably would.
Yeah.
I think I probably would.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't make some of the mistakes I made.
Yeah, well, there you go then. Do you, and this is, I'm sorry if this is really controversial, but...
Go for it.
Are you a little bit grateful that you became ill?
Yes.
Because then you wouldn't be doing this, would you?
I'm very open about that.
Yeah.
Actually, both my cancer diagnosis in my 30s and my recent, you know, relatively recent spell of illness, I look back on very positively, because if I hadn't been ill, I'd still be doing what I was doing, running myself ragged all over the world, which sounds very glamorous, but is really hard on the body and the mind.
And life, and your relationships
and
as well.
Exactly right, exactly right. Now, you know, I'm very fortunate that I get to choose my itinerary. I get to say yes to the things I want to do and no thanks to the things I don't. So I look at it very positively.
That's good. I love that.
And you know, I get so much joy out of seeing the transformation in others. That's my currency. I don't, like I say, I don't need to earn, you know, tens and tens of thousands of pounds to you know to live like that. So,
it's just living with joy.
Yeah.
And I have one very pressing question that I ask every single guest. If you were a biscuit, what biscuit would you be?
Oh, I would be a dark chocolate digestive.
And why?
Because I love them. They're the best.
Well, they're a classic favourite, but elevated, aren't they?
Yeah.
And better for you because they're dark.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Dan. I appreciate you. I would be a bourbon. So I always tell people this. I'd be a chocolate bourbon.
Okay.
And because they're cheap, they're a family favourite, and they're council biscuits. That's just me. So that's
a little bit bitter.
A little bit bitter, and come in a value pack. Good value for money. That's what you get when you give me. Listen, thank you so much, Dan. It's been fun and very insightful. We'll put all of Dan's details on, but how can they find you on LinkedIn and Instagram? So
LinkedIn, just search for Dan Hughes, and I should pop up. Instagram at VitaeV official. So VITAEVI official.
Okay.
And then website vitaev.co.uk.
Perfect. And they can contact you there for anything. Any
of this. I'm
inquiries, questions.
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. Cheers, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Business in the boardroom.